Welcome to the Vintage House Show. It is winter 2021, and we have a house music pioneer, Mendel Monarch, on the show today, Mr. Dewey Bullock. Dewey Bullock is, again, a Mendel pioneer. He has, whether he knows it or not, he's mentored a lot of young people back in the day. He continues to work in the house music community now. And so we are definitely very proud to have him on the show and learn a little bit more about his life and career. So, Dewey, tell me, we always love to start with your origin story. Tell me, do you know what hospital you were born in? Where'd you grow up? What side of town? What community? Grammar school? Give me all of that.
Well, I was born in Michael Reese Hospital. It's not there anymore, but that's where I was born in Chicago, south side of town.
Me too.
And oh, you too?
Yeah, I was born in Michael Reese as well.
Yes, it's gone. So just like Mendel, but I've lived all over the Chicagoland area, and also I went to Normal Bloomington, Illinois State University. So lived a short while in Central Illinois, and started high school in 1980, graduated in 1984. Mendel Catholic Disco, as I call it, Mendel Catholic.
That's a very good way to frame that. So tell me, where'd you grow up? Tell me what community you grew up in, what street, what, like, kind of, where was your grammar school?
My grammar schools were all over the place, but mostly in Argo, Summit, Illinois, and Maywood, Broadview.
Interesting, Maywood Bravia. And
Yeah.
so tell me, give me the reason why you were sort of all over these communities. It's a real Chicago story. When you hear that, that's a real Chicago story, being sort of all in the different cities, communities, and neighborhoods. How was that? How did that happen?
Well, just like most people, you got to go where your family goes. So I had to go where my dad wanted us to go. So he wanted us to experience a lot of things and be exposed to a lot of areas and different type of people. So that's generally why we moved around. And he was always looking for the next step up. Let's go to the next level. Next level was what his, you know, that's where he wanted to be on the
I
next.
like that.
Yeah.
That's extremely cool. That's very cool. So, how'd you end up at Mendel when you were sort of all over the place? Because that's a stable 4 years generally, correct? Or how long were you there?
Yeah, I was there all 4 years. Um, that's where my mom wanted me to go. She was a Catholic school uh, person, woman, and she that was the best choice for me. I didn't know much about it because I was coming from the suburbs at the time, and it was just like, okay, that's where you want me to go. I'm going there. But when I got there, it kind of fit my personality. I fell right in. Let's just say,
That's really cool. By the way,
yeah.
I'm going to go back just a little bit. Do you have siblings?
I have two brothers and a sister.
Are they older or younger?
Everyone's younger than me. I'm the oldest.
Okay, got it, got it. So in 1980, you arrive at Mendel Catholic High School, but I'm going to go back again. So, music. What kind of music was your family listening to?
Oh man, we had all type of music. My dad owned a record store, so I had all types of music. Everything from the Isley Brothers to Parliament and Funkadelic and everything. Anything new that came out, my dad had it. He took me on a couple runs on the west side to pick up his records. I believe it was Ray Barney's, but I can't be sure about that.
Gotcha. Yeah, West Side Ray Barney's. And so, what was the name of your father's record store, and where was it? What was the address?
Good question. I was just a kid, so it was on 63rd Street, West 63rd Street in Argo. So right where the bus turns around at the CTA bus turns around, there's like a horseshoe there. My
Mm-hmm.
dad's record store was right in there, and it's no longer there. Also, so,
Yeah, that's very cool. So you were introduced to music very, very early on, just different kind of music. So you had sound systems in your house, you had, all the equipment in your house. Talk about that, growing up around sort of that.
man, that was the best. That's what we did. We partied. We had good sound systems. We had the Zenith Allegro system. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, but they they had the speakers. Some of them came in different colors, white and blue, and all type of colors in the '70s. So we had that. We had just pumping sounds back in the day. It was nice.
That's really, really cool. So you listen to all kinds of music, a lot of soul, a lot of R&B. You saw sort of music progressions. Did you all listen to any blues, any jazz? Were you listening to that kind of stuff too?
Definitely, definitely.
So the genre, the full circle of black music, you all were listening to gospel. Did your father sell gospel or?
He probably did, but not that I remember. Like
Got
the,
it.
the gospel section might not have been as large as the R&B section. Let's just say.
Gotcha. And so, would you consider yourself having a um, sort of unique sort of interest in music, like more than the average person, or did you find that the people you grew up in your community and things like that, they were also sort of interested in the same way?
I would say my interest was more than the average person. Um, couldn't play any instruments, but loved it. Loved every section of it.
Hmm.
Drums and horn sections and just arrangements. Big Quincy Jones fan from the original Quincy Jones. Sanford and Son theme song type of stuff. Bill
Oh,
Cosby original show theme song type of stuff. So it goes way back with me. Original Jackson Five, not the Jacksons or Michael, but the Jackson Five
right, right.
originalist. Let's just
That's
say.
interesting. Did you go to, as a young person, did you go to concerts? Did you see any musicians? I mean, if your father's in the record business, I'm wondering sort of how you were exposed sort of to live music, any live music.
Not that I can recall anything that stands out, like but next door to the record store was a blues bar, and I can recall hearing that, that kind of thing. But of course, I was underage; I couldn't go inside the bar.
Got
But
it.
nothing live too much. I didn't get into my first recording studio until I was much much older.
Got it. So, do you have your parents' memorabilia, like pictures of the record store, pictures of the blues bar next door? Do you have any of that?
No, unfortunately, I do not. All I have is memories and memories of my family being around because most of them are not with us any longer. And it's unfortunate, but we just didn't have the technology that we have today, to record this stuff and keep it.
Right. Do you think your siblings don't have any either, you think?
I'm pretty sure they don't. Since I'm the oldest, it would have fell to me, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure we don't.
Well, that's just a tragedy. It'd be so great to have some of those pictures of inside the store, what it looked like, what it felt like, what was going on around that time. What was
Yeah,
the name of his store? Because I may try to see if I can dig up some Defender or some kind of something on it.
his DJ name was Dew Drop because he was named. He and I share a name, so I'm assuming that the name of the record store was the same. But I
Do
don't
DEW drop DROP?
correct. But I don't quite remember what the name of it was. I would probably have to ask my aunt who is still living.
Oh
And
wow! If you
yeah,
could please interview her for me,
yeah,
just to take the interview, record it, and just say, hey, tell me a little bit about the shop. Where do you remember where it is next door? Sometimes record stores had in-house events and things like that. Just wondering what she might have and what she might remember about sort of that store. So that's really interesting. You've got a deep music background. If your father owns a record store, that doesn't not everyone's father owns a record store. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. He was also a DJ, you know. So it goes deep. It goes deep, like you said, deep background for sure.
Yeah, I would love to know where he was spinning. Yeah, where was he playing records? You know what I mean? Those are going to be some of the clubs and events and things like that, the basements or whatever that was, that we definitely may never have remembered. You know what I mean? So that would be cool.
Anyone from that area knew my dad, so he played for quite a few people out there.
That's really cool. Okay, so 1980, you're at Mendel High School. Are you already spinning, or how you? I mean, when you come there, the music scene is going. What I mean, the parties are definitely happening. What's going on? What happens when you arrive at Mendel in 1980? What's going on, sort of with music and you?
So when I arrived at Mendel, the parties were different. There was no like DJ per se, and there was no mixing. The record played from beginning to end. There was a bunch of different type of records. I mean, you could hear, more bounce to the ounce to some different type of stuff. There was nothing that was like locked in as a groove to the parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was still very popular. I mean, Mendo parties were already, by the time I got there, they were already off the chain.
Right.
So, from what I can recall, the scene didn't get like set until Punk Out came out. Until we started punking out. That was when the scene got set and the DJs got set. And you could actually see and feel turntables being used and that type of thing. And
so, what was Punk Out? Tell me what Punk Out is.
Punk Out was hard to explain, but anybody you've interviewed from my era will tell you that that's kind of where it all started, Lauren. That's where we all got together. That's where the kids developed this we're against the independent attitude and started listening to completely different stuff. Now, Herb Kent had a radio show on, I think it was JPC type of radio station, but it was FM. And it was the Punk Out Hour or something like that. And he would play like the B-52s, Rock Lobster, Devo, a lot of Devo, Blondie, the Police, a bunch of different acts that came out of mostly New York, I would say. And it was just a vibe, man. And, there was dances that went along with this vibe. And, you got real close up on the female you were dancing with, and you kind of rocked one way and the other. And it was just, it was a scene. Definitely it was a scene.
Got it. So Mendel, they're just playing it. The parties are super hot at this point.
Yes.
Maybe not as big as it got, but definitely still going on, still hot. And again, the Mendel parties, birthed by Kirk Townsend in the 70s. He was hiring folks to do different things, bring in sound systems, things like that. But 1980, it's just, you're playing songs back to back, no DJs, etc. How did you?
They had DJs. It's just that they weren't like.
They weren't mixing.
Yeah, they weren't mixing DJs that I can remember. Now, maybe they were, and I just didn't recognize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you remember who the DJs were in 1980? Who was coming to Mendel?
You know what? I don't know this cat's name, but he had a large afro. That's what I remember about him. He was a very light-skinned brother. He had a large afro, and he was playing records. It wasn't Kirk that I can remember.
It wasn't Wayne?
No, it wasn't Wayne. I don't believe it was Wayne, because this guy was a little shorter than Wayne is.
Okay.
But, I was a freshman, so I was in awe of everyone.
Right. Again, now I've got to find who the guy with the afro is. Now it's critical that we find out who that guy's name is and see if he's still around to interview. So 1980, you're doing that. And so how did you get involved? So what happened? So again, at some point, in 1980, the parties are happening, Punk Out is going on. And then tell me your sort of how the flow goes into you are now, having your own equipment and trying to figuring this whole mixing, blending, house music thing together. How does that happen?
Okay, so that's 1980. So 1980, 1981, the party scene starting to kick off. Like I said, this is a Punk Out scene, not just at Mendel. These are the parties all over the place, right? That's where the Chosen Few and all of these cats are throwing parties, and they're all getting together, and they're having this it's a competition. Like, it's the Hans and his crew versus another crew dance-offs kind of thing, and it's a hot scene, right? So me and my cousin, we started going to parties. My cousin is Eric E. Smooth Miller, and we started seeing people like Andre Hatchett spinning, who was a big, he put us on to a lot of good records and stuff like that.
So parties, what parties are you going to? Are you going to basement parties? Are you going to an actual facility, a club? Where
Facilities, like the Penthouse, Sours, that type of thing. Sours, okay. Mostly. We're going with older guys from Eric's neighborhood. This cat named Ronnie Oden took us to mostly all the good parties. Now, Ronnie was much older than us. He was about 2 years older than us. He was already driving, and his family knew our family, so it was cool to roll with him. And he could keep us out a little later than we would normally be able to stay out, right?
Got it.
So he was getting invited to these great parties, and he'd bring us along, like, these are my little brothers, let them on in and party with them. So me and Erica are just dazzled by the DJ set. And it was 1200s and mixer and big old speakers, and and the sound system probably grabbed hold of our hearts and drove us to wanting to be DJs.
Got it. So that's about 1981 or so. So 1981.
That's about 81, 82.
Got it. And so then what happens? You just go buy some turntables, or you already have stuff?
So we compiled some turntables. Now, if you're asking me how we got them, I don't quite remember that, but they were not the best turntables, right? Belt drive turntables. You touch them a little bit, and the needle would jump up and go over and set itself back down. It was a mess, right? Okay. We had slip pads made of old album covers that we cut out to make fit the turntable and everything like that. So we're starting to mix, right? And then we meet a guy that I went to school with, and we went to school with. Me and Eric both went to Mendel. His name is Bill Morton. So okay. Bill had his own little setup in his basement, right?
And where did Bill Morton live? Where was Bill Morton? Where did he live?
Bill Morton was off 79th Street, 79th and the Dan Ryan. So okay. You might know his brother Craig, Bill and Craig Morton.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know Craig extremely well, yeah.
Yeah. So Bill had his own little DJ setup with better turntables and a better sound system. So we started going by Bill's house after school and playing records and buying records, and we went down to imports, etc., and we bought records, and we started getting off into the whole scene of it, hearing these songs at the parties, then wanting to play them, just like our idols, Andre and Frankie and all these cats that are playing these great records, right? So Bill actually taught me how to beat match.
Okay.
Before that, it was a train wreck. Both Eric and I, both train wrecks forever. Bill taught us how to beat match. So that's how we learned how to play. That was about 1982. Okay. So, and then from then on, we just progressed. You just take that natural progression, it gets into your soul, and next thing you know, you're trying to spend your whole check on records.
Right. So how are you getting a check? I mean, how do you have money to buy these things?
So me, myself, I worked at the food exchange on 71st and Exchange. So I had a little, $100 here, $100 there, and made my way on down to imports. And probably every week, I made my way on the 6 Jeffrey bus on down to imports, and bought some records, came on back home and started playing them,
Got it. So you had your own sound system in your place that was sort of manufactured. You were coming up with turntables, etc., speakers. Yes. But you all learned at Mr. Morton's house, at Bill Morton's place. Where's Bill?
Bill is currently in the hospital, God rest him. Well, he's not dead. He's sick, though, and we're praying for him. Hopefully he gets better. Would love to talk to him today, but he's in the hospital right now.
Oh, wow. What a tragedy. We are praying for him. It's an ugly time. It is an ugly time.
Yes, it is.
In our nation, across the board, so much illness and sickness that's just terrible. All right, so you're sort of refining your craft. You're figuring out how the big guys do it, and figuring out how you can jump on, how you can get on. So how do you get on? What is your first? So you spun at Mendel Catholic High School. Yes. Which is that's a real feat, you know what I mean? And not everyone gets to spin at Mendel. Certainly back in the day, which was super hot. When did you spin at Mendel?
We got a chance to DJ at Mendel. I think it started in '83. I'm sure it started in '83 at a homecoming game. Okay. Now, there was no money to be made for us. it was four to six of us, and we had to pay for our own system. We had to rent our own system. They required us to have the same system that Farley would have there. They wanted us to have the same system, so all the money went towards renting the system. So it was just for the love of the game, as they say, just spin it.
Who
Now
was the 4 to 6? Who was the 4 to 6 of you? Who are those
it
fellow
was
DJs?
it was Eric and I. That's two. Bill, um, a good friend of ours named Kenny Johnson, who's not in the Chicagoland area either, and sometimes Derek Lott. Derek Lott was also with us.
Got it, got it. And so you all rented a system. So what year? So 1983, homecoming. So it's about October of 1983. That's your
Correct.
first time spinning at Mendel,
Playing the gym, yes.
playing the gym. So who hired you? How did you get on?
Well, the middle was run by priests and what they call brothers, right? So there was a brother that was running the whole party scene, and he put us on for that occasion. I guess he gave us a shot. He was like, "Okay, you guys are ready. You think you can do it?" We were like, "Yeah, we can do it." Plus, it was right up his alley from the expense side. We weren't making anything, and we had to carry the speakers in and move them out and all this other stuff. So it was right up his alley from we can get by and make all this money, and these guys won't get paid anything.
Yeah, perfect sort of situation. But you were just happy to get on. You're just happy to be on, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, so who'd you rent systems from? What'd you get in there? What'd you have? Were you ready?
We rented from wall to wall sounds, just like everybody else. Uh, and
Who owned Wall to Wall Sounds?
Ken Samuelson was who we talked to, and he was pretty much the owner that we knew. John Hunt, Little John Coleman was with them. I forget the other guy's name, but they set up for everybody basically back in the day. Wall to Wall was Sowers, Wall to Wall was the Penthouse, Wall to Wall was everywhere.
Wow. How much you paying?
We got paid like 200, I do believe, and we paid them maybe 175 or 150. So all the money except for some gas money went to them pretty much. And they were cutting us a deal actually. Ken was cutting us a deal because he knew we weren't getting paid anything. So.
Wow. So Wall to Wall was making out like fat cats in this joint, huh? Like, we've talked to John Hunt before, but we talked to John with like a bunch of other promoters. So it wasn't like we got to talk to him specifically about what was going on in his world or specifically about any of his worlds. You know what I mean? All the different things he produced and promoted. But so that's interesting. Okay, so you're set up, you're ready to go. You've hired the best in Chicago at that time, certainly maybe Southside. So who was on first? How'd it go?
Blur. It went okay. It was an okay party. It was going nice. But then a fight broke out between the Mendel guy and St. Rita guy. So
Lord.
That was pretty much the end of the party.
Tragedy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a nice high school. That's a nice high school memory, though. You gotta have a fight. There's gotta be a fight in there somewhere.
Right.
Either Gately Stadium fight after you lost, or there's gotta be something.
Right.
Certainly not as critical as it would be today if there was a fight.
No,
definitely
make it
not.
Out,
right? Exactly. All right. So you DJ'd 1983. But it continued. Where else? How else? What other Mendel sort of gigs did you have? How often were you playing at Mendel?
We were playing pretty often. Now, they had their summer program was all, Kurt and productions, Frankie Knuckles, Jamie Principal. But anytime there was a basketball game and a party afterwards, they would let us play. And also we did several of the bi-levels. Like they opened up the cafeteria underneath the gym and they allowed us to play. Like we alternated with some other guys from Mendel. I don't remember them, or their names necessarily because they didn't graduate with me. But we alternated because they were like, man, we're DJs too and we're seniors. We need to play as well. So they made us start alternating. Like we'd get upstairs, they would get downstairs, and then we'd alternate. That kind of thing.
I'm getting infuse a little Ira Brown and Sweet MD. So how did you meet them? How did you meet Ira? I mean, I know Ira went to Mendel probably your same year. How
Yeah,
did you all end up mixing together? Was he in the basement too, or how that? I mean, how did he end up on the scene a little bit of learning about you?
Ira was in the band, so he had, he was musical as it starts anyway. And he went to Mendel. Now MD was at Northwestern. That comes later.
Got
We
it.
Eric and I used to bring tapes up there to your old building with the look like a castle,
Yep, 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 yep. Hmm.
and we would MD would play the tapes on the radio WNUR. So
Oh well,
that's how we got it. Plus he was on he had releases on Trax Records, I do believe, or something like that. So he was already in the scene. You know what I'm saying? He was a disc jockey, music producer kind of thing, and
got
we
it.
all just met up. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I get it now. I was trying to figure out how that came in, if that was before high school or after. I know Ira would be high school, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out. All right, so someone tells me that you won a DJ battle at Mendel. Tell me
Yeah.
about that. Who are you battling? What year was this? How did you win that battle? Because I love a DJ battle, and I'm trying to find more ways to have DJ battles today. And no one wants to do it. Everyone's afraid to DJ battle. I'm like, this is what's up. We need that DJ battle. How'd you win that?
Well, I won it because I had better blends that night, and also I bought better records. So
There you go.
so the guys I was playing against were basically the same guys we were spinning all together anyway. It was me, Kenny, Eric, and Bill, and another guy. I can't even remember who that was. But it was all basically the same guys. Kurt was judging the event. So it was an easy battle to win since you already know these guys. You're not playing against somebody you don't know. You know their style. You know what they're going to do. There was nothing different about it. I guess I brought the difference, and that's how I won it. I
Kirk
wasn't
was the
necessarily
only.
better than them, but it was just I brought it that night. I brought my game that night.
You are extremely humble, Dewey. That's extremely humble thing to say. In the real world, right? You'd be like, "Yeah, I was the best. I'm still the best." Anyway. So Kirk was the only one. Was the only judge, or were there only other people judging?
He was the only one that mattered. There might have been somebody else judging, but it might have been like a teacher or something. But you want to perform in front of the legend. Let's just
Got
say.
it. What did you know about Kirk Townsend back in the day as a Mendel legend? How were you made aware that he was a legend? What did you hear about him or learn about him?
I hadn't learned as much about him as I do now. Then, um, it's like with the resurgence of what's going on now, especially with COVID, and we having these conversations and stuff. You get to know a person a little bit better. You get to know about where they come from and how they started out. But at the time during the battle, he was just like that's a graduate of Mendel, and he used to DJ all the parties and everything, and the actual priests and stuff played him up more than the people that were there because we didn't see a lot of alumni as often as we should have saw them. I guess that's why Mendel closed. But yeah, he was still a legend. We knew that. So
Got it. Yeah, when I started this work, the first everyone would say, "Well, you got to talk to Kirk Townsend," and I'm like, "God, I got to meet this Kirk Townsend. Why is Kirk Townsend not calling me back? What's going on?" Eventually, I got to know him. I love him to death. He's awesome. All right, so you win the DJ battle at Mendel. What year was that?
that was '84.
So 84 as well. So your last year of
Yeah.
school, and then so talk to me. So we've got this sort of line of question that may go back and forth just a little bit. So, you mentioned that you didn't have a lot of influences. You were sort of learning from Bill, etc. But were there influences like, I mean, again, you talk about Herb Kent, Hot Mix Five. Who are these people who were sort of your influences?
So for me, I'm gonna go with Farley. Farley was the biggest influence on me. I liked the way he played. I liked his aggressiveness. Um, Farley would have a track going for 10, 20 minutes. He might have learned this from somebody else, and I just don't know about that. But you have like a drum track going for 10, 20 minutes and then throw acapella on top of it. You know what I'm saying? And scratch it up. I enjoyed that. I love that. And I know a lot of people, they go in between the hot mixing and just playing a record straight out. I got to hear the Congo end at the, that type of craziness. But Farley would just emphasize the cut part of the record, and that moved me through my career as how I wanted to play.
Nice. Talk to me about your first 1200 purchase.
My first one was, with some student loan money. Don't do this at home. Kids, do not do this. And I bought it from Martroy Electronics on 63rd Street.
Got it. So was everyone getting their stuff there, or you just why'd you go there? What was happening?
That's the only place I knew that was selling them, that had them in stock and had, the price on them that you wanted to pay. They were kind of like some shysters, but for the most part, when I bought them, they were brand new, and I knew they were good. So,
well, that's nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so you get that. So you graduate from Mendel. What did you expect to do with your career? What did you decide to do for your career at that point? I mean, what were you thinking you were going to do?
I wanted to go into TV broadcasting.
Got it. And so, where'd you go to college?
I went to Illinois State.
And
it was the closest thing to music that I could get to, because when I graduated in '84, it was like, DJ, no, you can't do it. It's no way possible.
Right. No one was looking. The parents are like, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That happened to me too. My parents are like, you want to do what? Someone asked you to do what? Why are you doing that? Like, I didn't send you to school to do that. That was exactly my parents' sort of words. So you go to Illinois State. What's going on? Are you still DJing? What's the music scene down there? What are they doing at Illinois State?
So Illinois State was, let's just call it a little bit backwards. It was kind of like a college town, but a college town in Iowa. Not 120 miles from Chicago. It was like you were a million miles from Chicago when I got there. And it was the scene was weak. It was kind of weak. The frats had good parties because they were frats, But for the most part, anything else was just kind of like kind of dry. So when I got there, I didn't bring any of my equipment with me, or records or anything. I just went to school, and the guys found out that I played, and I played at Mendel, and they were like, "Man, you need to come play." This was the Sigmas. You need to come play for our parties.
Nice.
So I put together some equipment with some other guys on campus, and I started playing.
Got it. And so, sort of, with the party, were you just spinning Greek parties, or were you doing some of your own parties? What were you doing?
I was doing mostly Greek parties at the time.
Got it.
So they would have a party in the Union, from 9 to 11, and then after set at somebody's apartment complex from 11 to whenever.
So what were you getting paid for that?
Little to nothing.
No, of course.
Right? College. I would do NAACP parties for black college students, and they would be like at the end of the night, hey, we didn't make enough money for you black college students, so we can't pay.
Terrible.
It's very terrible.
But so Illinois State, give me the progression from there to you being, or sort of a music producer, promoter, DJ. Tell me how you go from Illinois State to being signed to A&M.
So that is a long journey. But Illinois State, for anybody that doesn't know this, Ronald Reagan cut out all the financial aid in, let's say, 1985. 1985, that was the end of Pell Grants and all the other good grants that you could get to go to school. So I had to leave, basically, because I couldn't afford to go to school anymore. And, an apartment and all this other crazy stuff. So I left Illinois State, and I came home to Chicago, and the scene was just starting to take off from the standpoint of previous to me leaving Illinois State. Music is the Key. J.M. Silk was on a cassette. Everybody was playing it. All the DJs were playing it on a cassette, right? So Steve came out with that record, which was a big record, and Jesse Saunders came out with On and On, which was a big record. All these cats were producing records, so that made every other DJ that wanted to have a copy of Isaac Hayes' I Can't Turn Around suddenly go into their basement and start trying to make Isaac Hayes' I Can't Turn Around, because you couldn't buy the record at the time, right?
Right.
Or any other record that you couldn't buy. That's what drove most DJs to making these records, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had that record, you could play it, and you were the only one at the party that could play that record because you had it.
Right.
If you didn't have it, you had to come up with something that's just as good. And that's when that scene, the production scene, came on. That's what drove us all to starting to make records. And then people were signing these records to tracks and getting a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. And for a 20-year-old or 19-year-old, whatever your age was back then, that was fantastic.
That's enough. Right. Yeah, that's cool. Right.
Yeah. Little did we know we were signing away our lives, kind of thing, and that was a bad thing to do. You have to learn that lesson, though, and hopefully the next generation, they'll be a little bit smarter with their music and stuff.
So talk to me a little bit about that. This is the business of house that is important. So when you say you did some work for tracks and you signed away your life, first of all, do you still have that contract?
No. And the record that we signed the tracks, it never came out. So it was like, a waste of time, basically.
So tell me what you're signing. So you're going into tracks, you're just producing some music, and what happens? Talk to how are you getting into tracks? Who's talking to you? Who's introducing you to who? And then what happens?
So that was basically Eric. Eric's forte is talking to people and getting into something. That dude is number one in that.
Yes.
He got us in to see Larry Sherman. We played him a record, and Larry was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool."
What year is this? I'm sorry to cut you off.
This was about 1985, I want to say. 85, okay. 86. Could have been 86.
Got it.
And then nothing happened with the record. He signed it and didn't give us any money, didn't give us an advance, and the record never came out. We had Kevin Irving play on it. He shouldn't have been playing on it because he was signed to DJ International. But he helped us out because Kevin Irving also went to Mendel.
Oh, okay.
So he was a good friend. And then we went from tracks, we went down to DJ International and signed a deal with them. And nothing ever comes out on that label either.
Okay, so hold on. Again, sign a deal with them.
Yes.
You go in, you're going to produce some tracks. What are they giving you? What is this document saying?
The document says something to the extent of, you hereby will produce 3 EPs or 3 tracks for them, and in turn they're going to give you a certain amount of money once your production is done, kind of thing.
Got it.
So
the payout is on the back end,
right,
after it's out and after it sells.
Right. Unless you're somebody else who, like Steve Hurley probably already got his money up front. I don't know how much Steve got.
All right.
His track was already hot, so it was just a natural thing for DJ International to put it out and be like, "Oh, this is Jack Tracks," or whatever he's gonna call it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it was, okay, we're gonna get you in the studio this week, and then this week comes and it never happens. Okay, we're gonna get you in next week. That week comes and it never happens because you got to get in the studio and produce these things.
Right.
And we never could get into the studio with DJ International.
Interesting. So you got to deal with tracks. You got to deal with DJ International. You don't do the DJ International flow because they don't get you in. So how does your music career continue? So you're at tracks and you're doing a few things. How are you then again get from tracks to signing with another sort of larger studio?
So Eric goes on with when Steve leaves DJ International, he goes to ID, which is in Brookfield. That's another situation. Eric kind of goes with him and is his apprentice. So Eric in ID is building up his, you know, his name is getting built up. He's on all these remixes, Michael Jackson, all this other stuff. And he's writing these songs with tremendous songwriters, Shantae Savage and Donnell Rush, and all of this good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, meantime, I'm just still DJing here and there, doing my thing, not really working a regular job, you know. Eric is doing the work at ID. I'm off doing some other silliness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when ID breaks up and Eric, Steve, and everybody goes their separate ways and goes independent, I joined Eric and I started producing records at his facility.
Got it.
So that's how the A&M situation comes around, because I was starting to get records signed and to Strictly Rhythm and the other little independent labels, and then I had this hit record, and A&M picked it up. AMPM actually.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so ID breaks up. Who was ID? What is ID, and who was a part of ID?
So don't quote me on this because I was not. But it was Eric. It was Steve first off. Steve Hurley. Donnell was out there. Shantae, Maurice, Joshua. Who else? Mark. What's Mark's last name? M. Doc. I don't know. I can't remember his last name.
Got it. Got it.
Went to
got
Whitney Young. He was the rapper. They had quite a roster, you know,
it. Interesting.
before they broke up. Yeah.
Why would they break up?
You know why they broke up? It's always some money, right? Somebody
Yeah,
taking too much money, somebody's not getting enough money. It's always money.
that's true. That's true. So then you hook back up with Eric, and then you all start producing things, and then you got a record that's pretty hot. What was that record that was pretty hot? That was super hot. That
It
they
was
picked
called
up.
Stand Up.
Stand up. Got
Yeah.
it. What's that gold record behind you?
That's a remix of Janet Jackson. You Want This?
Did you produce that too?
No.
I was about to say.
We remixed it.
Okay.
Eric got the remix because Eric was #1 remixer in the world for a minute there. Probably still is.
Got it.
And he would allow me to throw down on it during the off time. Like, hey, yeah, man, I'm going home to go to sleep. You got 8 hours to do your thing.
Got
So,
it.
and we made the 12-inch on that one, and they shipped us out some gold records when the single went gold.
Very, very cool. So tell me then the trajectory from there. So you're just doing some things with Eric. You have another job.
Yes.
What job was that? What were you doing?
No, when I was working out there by Eric, I didn't have another job. I was just doing music. That's when the AMPM thing came up. Now, all this time, this was like 96 ish.
Mm-hmm.
So dance music is really taking off. It's really getting popular. Show Me Love, that type of stuff, and Robin S. Show Me Love, and a bunch of big hits. These records are going. They're getting hot.
Yeah.
So, Eric's wife, his current wife, Tanya Miller, is the singer on Stand Up, and they wanted her to perform the song. So Eric was like, "Man, you all should become a group, and then that way you could go out and you could get a good view of, what's going on out there." And that's what we did. We got a group together. It was called Love Tribe for a moment because we did not secure the name Love Tribe, and somebody else owned it.
So that's funny.
So we started touring. We went to London. We went to England. All over the East Coast. The record went #1, and that's how we put it together.
So wait a minute. So what was so tell me the band name again, the group name.
Love Tribe.
Love Tribe. And so again, who are the members of Love Tribe again?
Me, myself, and Latanza Waters was her last name then, but her name now is Latanza Miller.
Miller, right?
Yes,
So just the two of you. You all were Love Tribe.
correct.
Just Love Tribe. Where's the memorabilia from Love Tribe? I got to see that. I got to have that, man. That's critical.
That I do have a little bit of, not too much, but I can pass on some of that stuff to you.
Yeah,
Yes.
pass on a few things. I'll send you a link so you can send me some. So when we air this, we can toss a few of those in to the conversation.
Cool.
So you're touring the world clearly because you've gone a little global. Tell me where's so you say I'm gonna go on this tour. Who's putting together that tour? People say they go on tour and it's like, oh, I just got up and got on a plane and then there was a club waiting for me. Give me the details on that. Who was your tour manager? Or did you have one? Was your label taking you here and there? What? How does that happen?
So we went to the UK on the label. That was on the label,
Okay.
but we were signed to an agent out of New York, Pyramid, which they had pretty much all the dance acts. Liddell Townsend, um, the Out Here Brothers, I believe they were signed with them. LaBouche, all these acts they had, and they were booking all these festivals and stuff like that.
Got it. So everything's paid for. That's your first tour, or your tour is in the UK. How's that feel? So you're just like, yeah, we're just gonna leave and and take this, on the road. I mean, is that something you dreamed about, or tell me how you felt about that?
I had no dreams of that. For me, it was about songwriting and production. I had no real dreams of going on the road or anything like that. But at that time, that was the only way I could personally make any money. So the tour manager was me. The guy that collected the money was me. I was security. That was me. I was the hype guy. I got up on stage and hey, throw your hands in there, kind of thing. That was all me.
Got
So
it.
I had many hats on that in that group, and then tried to keep the singer just concentrate on singing. Don't worry about nothing else. I got you on everything else.
Got it. Okay, so so again, the clubs are already set up. You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to book your own clubs. The label's doing that for you.
No, the agent is mostly booking us for gigs. You got
Got
this
it.
agent, booking agent.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that world. So you get to UK, where you go to London first, right? You're in London, or where are you? Okay, so you're in London. You get off the plane. What hotel are you staying at? What's the name of the club? How was the club when you get in there? I mean, is it what you think it's going to be, or how are you surprised or not surprised?
So outside of Chicago, Lauren, you might be surprised at this. Things are a lot different. The world is a lot different. So whereas you might not know who I am or whatever, but there's people out there who were singing these songs verbatim. You know what I'm saying? All the parts. So you get there and they're into it. Like they're really into this vibe. So the names of the clubs we played, like Hacienda, some other clubs like that. I can't even remember to tell you the honest truth, but they would have nights where the night was named something, but it's in this type of club.
Mm-hmm.
They did that same thing in New York. The night is called something, but it's in uh, you know the Sound Factory bar or whatever.
Got
But
it.
the night is called this. So all you know is you're playing this night. Um, and outside of Chicago, you get a lot of love. Dance music gets a lot of love. House music gets a lot of love. And it's not from people of color. Usually, it's from Caucasians. To be honest with you, so I know a lot of people talk about Caucasian DJs and how they're misrepresenting what we do or whatever, but that's really some bull because they're just taking it to a whole nother level. And that from a singer's perspective also, they're like a lot of singers get a lot of love elsewhere, and they don't get it here in Chicago.
So you're in the UK. You walk into this club. You're so how's it? So again, when you say you get a lot of love there, and I recognize. So people know exactly who you are. They're singing the songs, etc. You're on stage. How are you feeling? So your first show, how are you feeling? What are you thinking when you're sort of in that sort of environment outside of Chicago, on a stage, doing doing something cool? Um, is that surreal, or how do you feel about sort of what's going on in your life at that time?
So for me, it was very surreal because I'm not a performer. I'm not a singer. So I had to find my little niche in that groove. And just like I said, make sure that Tanya was okay. That was my main purpose, was just to make sure she was all right and she was comfortable with the situation. Um, for her, I'm gonna guess that it was a little nerve wracking at first, but then once once again, once you get that feedback from the crowd and you recognize that they're into you, they don't know you. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what you look like. They just got a 12-inch. This was back when this was previous to digital stuff. This was just a 12-inch record. So they're loving it, and that goes for almost every artist from here that goes over there and has great, you know, fan base.
Okay, so give me the tour schedule. So you go to the UK. Are you in several places in London, or do you go to different cities, or you go to other places in Europe?
Yeah, we played several places in London, and then we went out to Manchester, and then we did what they call the Southport Weekender, which is a big festival over there. And then that was it. That was the whole tour for the UK. It was basically just a promo tour to sell the record,
How
which was
long was that?
that was about 4 or 5 days, maybe 6 days.
And it was successful, you say?
Oh yeah, the record sold really well over there.
Nice, nice. And so did you go back? Did you do subsequent tours, or what happened from that?
From that, we did the United States, uh, several events in Florida. We did all of Florida, um, New Jersey. We were in New Jersey for almost every weekend. Big partiers in New Jersey, New
Nice.
York City. We did New Year's Eve in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Do you remember where you played?
no.
So that's why we have these conversations, Dewey. We have to remember these things. The
Hey,
memorabilia is critical because they'll be like, Dewey wasn't there. There was another nice European guy. You know what I mean? So we got to.
and you know what? That would be cool too. That some people know me as a nice European guy.
There you go.
I was collecting money, man. I was on my management. I was on my management. We had 4 stops. Come on, let's go. We had dancers. Come on, get in the car. Let's go. You know.
Nice, nice. So yeah, let's talk about that evolution. So first it's just you and Latanza, and then it escalates to you got dancers and other things. How does that happen? Give me the progression.
So I think the first event we got dancers for, we had the dancers was for B96 Halloween Bash in at the Rosemont Horizon,
Okay.
or it might be called something else now. I don't know. Um, the the B96 event. So that's a pretty big stage. You can't just go up there with two people.
Right.
But we
What
opened that one up. We opened that show up, and we had like 4 dancers, 6 dancers. I can't remember. 4 dancers, I think.
what year is this?
That was 96. I do
Okay.
believe 96,
Still
97.
96. Okay.
Yeah, 90 might have been 97.
Okay. Got it. So you're booked at the B96 Bash,
Yeah,
which today is a pretty big deal. Was it a pretty big deal then?
yeah. We met the Fugees, um, La,
Nice.
La Bouche again, because they were part of Pyramid, so they
Hmm.
usually that was, we went where they went for the most part, because their record was much bigger here in the States.
Right.
And who else? I can't. Joni, INOJ. That's her name. Her name is Joni, but
Oh
she had
yeah,
a big record.
yeah. Hmm.
Who else did we meet there? I can't even remember. But it was, yeah, it was quite big. It was the Fugees were there. That's all. We got a chance to see them.
That's tight. So now I need to investigate. So do you have any memorabilia from that tour or from that event? So now I got to go into the to the B96 archives and see if I can dig that up. Okay.
Yeah, please
Yeah, I
do.
gotta keep stuff. History is so important. Okay. So you're performing at these hot stages and you hire for dancers. Who decided, you know what, we need some dancers and someone's gonna book them and figure out who they are. Where'd you get these dancers? What'd you pay these dancers?
Pay was probably just a couple $100 here and there, and we had auditions, but we used the Out Here Brothers dancers for that one, for that event.
Got
There was
it.
two dancers that they had, you know, previously used, so we used them. And the Out Here Brothers was Hula Mahone and what's the cat's name? I can't think of it. I'm old. Memory slipping.
What was his name?
Hula.
I know Hula. What was the other name again? You said you just couldn't remember. Okay, I just went.
They called him Silk, but I can't remember his real name.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the rapper of the group.
Got it. Okay. So now you got dancers. Now you progressed from you and Latanza to dancers that you got to manage, get in and out, and things like that. So now, again, you're managing in that way. And so how is then sort of, are you supporting yourself just with that? Is that something that you feel like is sustainable for you?
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice money on the weekends that we got booked. It was we had some nice weekends. Now, you always realize that that's going to come to an end very, very soon. Because these records, they go up and then they go down. They go down real fast.
That's true.
And if you don't have nothing to follow it up with, which we tried to get some more, another single out of them, but we couldn't get it going with the record label, and then that was pretty much the end of that. So you can sustain yourself for a little while, but then you got to go out and you got to get some work. You got to get back to work, let's just say.
And so the industry is something that, again, if you're not creating hits constantly, then you're up and you're down. So you have to just stay on it. And is it difficult to do when you are, on stage, you are now managing, you're doing these things, now I've got to create new hits?
Yeah.
So your record label then was AM/PM, or who was it?
AM/PM, yes.
Gotcha. And so how do they drop you? How do they say, well, you got nothing else, or you're not producing anything else, or, how does that happen? What happens? How do they talk to you about that?
They really don't talk to you. That's how you know. when you stop getting a call, or they stop taking your call, then it's pretty much done. And they drop you. I believe they send you a letter. I can't recall, because it was like, yeah, moving on.
Got it.
So but that's why a lot of people don't mess with major labels, or what they consider major labels now. And that's why the industry changed. It changed a lot since then. Most of the time you're doing independent deals where you're becoming a partner of theirs rather than them owning something that you own.
That's always better anyway, right? Just to be a partner instead of just the talent, right? So just
right.
The talent.
Definitely.
So talk to me then. This is a long jump as well, because we're sort of heading to the end of this, but it's a fascinating story. I think, there's a lot of people, like you're saying, who have done some interesting work in house music that people don't know, and they don't know the backstory from all the things you've done. And they go, where was he 30 years ago? What was he doing? Like, you're still enjoying music, you're still doing your thing, and you're still sort of enjoying and playing for people today. And we don't know sort of if you're making money from it, or if it's just a passion, something you like. Talk to me about those days, and sort of if that career sort of eased off, did you stop, creating new music, things like that, to what you're doing today. Talk to us about sort of 96, 97 till today.
So from there, I went on to just production, straight production, and I started recording, and I did several singles with Casual, with my good friend Braxton Holmes. And Braxton's got his ear to the street, one of the best producers out there. And we had several hits that went on to make us a little bit of money, right? So I'm holding over with my hits with Braxton, and I got a couple songs signed to Tony Humphrey's label,
Okay.
and I'm moving forward with my career, right?
Hmm.
And then I started working a regular job, 40 hours a week. So that took the wind out of the sails of the music production, and then just went straight into hard work.
Got
And
it.
from there, I'm just recording. I'm still recording. I'm writing and that type of thing. But I'm not basing my lifestyle around my recording anymore. I'm just doing it for the. Again, now I'm back at the love of the game clause. So, I'm back doing it for just me, or doing it because I want to, rather than trying to get somebody to pay 10 cent here, 10 cent there. I mean,
Right, right. So Braxton Holmes, you and Braxton have a couple hits. What were the names of some of those hits?
well, the name of the EP was called Cabrini Greens and Cornbread. That was the biggest one.
So you know you got to ask that question because that name is critical. Okay, that is a serious, serious Chicago name that everyone must know. Cabrini Green and
And
cornbread.
Cornbread, yes.
Tell me, help me out. Why that?
That was all on Braxton, man. That Braxton is deep. So you would have to ask him what his thought process around that was, but it was cold blooded. Whatever his thought was on it, I was down with it because it fit where we were going right then and there.
That is interesting. I do want to talk to Braxton Holmes, so you're gonna have to make an introduction at some
Sure.
point. Okay, so Cabrini Green and Cornbread, that was your EP. Anything else that we should dig up and find and play?
I mean, there's probably plenty of stuff out there, Lauren. I'm just, it slips my mind. Like I'm working on a lot of stuff now that, and I hate to bring up the past, and I hate to live in the past because you will spend the rest of your life trying to perfect one track, one song. You're like, oh yeah, I
I
gotta
know.
get this, and you will get lost. Your whole production will get lost in that one track. So you got to kind of let them go sometimes. Let them fade, keep on moving. I mean, the technology is so much better now. You can make so many better songs today. I hate to go back. I hate it sometimes, but sometimes you do. I guess you gotta go.
Well, I love the stories of those authors who started books 10 years before, started books 20 years before, and finished it. And they go on to be National Book Award, Pulitzer Prize winning,
Yeah,
novels. So sometimes it's great to, some of those sounds I mean, sometimes you're early. I always feel like sometimes people are early in what they were thinking, what they were creating, and it's perfect for today. You know what I mean? They didn't get it 10 years ago, and they get it today. So I'm going to encourage you to pull out some of those sounds and be like, yeah, I don't need to perfect it. I just need to update a few little things. Boom, winner. You know what I mean? So
it never turns out like that though. You end up updating, but then it turns into this big old production. You got a next thing you know, you got an orchestra, and
right.
you're like, oh, I got the orchestra here. So
That's true. That's
it's
true.
it's
What was the name of Tony Humphrey's label?
yellow orange.
Yellow Orange. What is up with y'all and these names? Yellow Orange. I'm assuming you don't know how he came up with Yellow Orange, or you know why he came up with Yellow Orange.
That is something that you would probably have to ask him. But once again, it was another cold-blooded name for something that's just like yellow orange. Okay, I got you.
Like, cool. All right.
Yeah.
No questions asked about Yellow Orange. Okay, got it. And so, where did you end up taking a job? And so, did you just what happened? Why did you decide to do that?
So um, I just got tired of being broke, man. You get tired of like struggling, man, and the struggle is real because you like when you're hitting, you got money for days and you can do things and you buy stuff and but when you're not hitting, it's a struggle. And it was just like I had a skill and I went to use it. I started working at a railroad as a locomotive mechanic. So it was it was easy for me to just sit back and relax and let things come to me instead of just being out there trying to chase these few twos and fews, as they say.
Got it. Got it. What did you like better, being a DJ or being sort of an artist or performer or promoter, producer?
I would say being a DJ, um, as long as it's a situation where you're being respected. And you were talking about battles earlier, And I think that's every DJ would love to be in a battle, but sometimes it's a respect factor. You don't get the respect factor. Like people take you for granted. Let's just say, and instead of it being a conflict, you just I don't need to battle anybody. I know what I can do, kind of thing, and
Right.
So that's just how I see it. I'm not. If you meet some younger kids, some youngsters, like back in the day, I would love to battle, but today I'm just like, nah, man, I don't need to battle you. You're the best already. Enjoy yourself. See what that.
I think as an older adult, right, no one wants to battle. Everyone feels confident in their skills and just happy to have everyone be on. But I think it'd be fun. I just think it'd be fun. I mean, that's how you started out. Like that's how you improved your craft because you needed to, and you wanted to be better than others. But it's always sort of learning, sort of a few tricks and sort of understanding that. And I get it though. I completely get that. And so, talk to me about your style, your spinning style. So you spin every Saturday or every other. Give me your schedule today. What are you? How are you spinning? How are people hearing you today? Where can people hear you?
So I'll be on Twitch today. DJ Dewey be on Twitch, and I start out about 6:30, 6:20 or so, and I go to 8 p.m. And that's been every Saturday for a little while now. We used to have a show on Tuesdays, but I had to move it because my work schedule got changed. And my style is I try to play new music. So I'll invest some time in some old music that's been remixed or they re-edited or something like that. But for the most part, I'm going on Track Source and I'm buying new music and I'm playing it because I think that for me right now, I'm trying to sell records personally and also in this little DJ thing. So I'm going to try to sell your record. I want some people to hear your record and buy your record. That's what a DJ should do. And old records are cool. Old music is nice, but it's not selling records. Those records are already sold. We need to sell some of these new records. So maybe this guy that just made it, put his whole heart into it, doesn't have to struggle. Maybe he can get by next week because he sold 10 copies of this, whatever it is that he's selling on Track Source, kind of thing. So that's my style. My style is sort of aggressive sometimes, but sometimes it's more laid back. So I move in between. I feel better when it's aggressive. I like to play stuff that's a little hyped up, and it makes people move. So that kind of thing.
So exactly where can we pick up these? Where will we find you spinning on Twitch? What's the Twitch handle? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? Where can we see you? SoundCloud, TrackSource, Mixcloud? Where? Give us all the deets so we can share it with our audience.
I'm DJ Dewey B on all formats. Anywhere you want to find me. DJ Dewey B.
Dewey B. DEWEYB.
Correct.
That's where we will be able to find you.
And the name of my show on Twitch is Evolutions. So if you are a friend of mine on Facebook, I always advertise my Evolutions is starting. And we created the name, and I'm saying we, my partner and I, Derek Lott, created the name. My musical partner, Derek Lott. You got to say that nowadays.
I didn't even think that way, but you're right. Yeah, you're like, what? Okay.
Because we were trying to evolve the music, trying to move the music to another evolution of house.
Got it. Well, you've got an impressive story, and I'm so happy that you were able to share that with me. I think that, some people don't realize all the time, how important your voice is in music, how important you were to other people. People don't always tell you that. I just spoke to a young woman who is a house music vocalist. She sung and wrote on one of the more popular house music tracks in the 80s. And, you can tell when you talk to her, she doesn't feel like, she's respected. She doesn't feel like people appreciate her story and what she did. I mean, she's still making money on that song, you know what I mean? And, but doesn't promote it, doesn't go out and sing it again, and doesn't, she's not necessarily in the industry now. I'm like, that song was massively powerful. That was like, that was a huge house music hit, and I'll share that at some point in the future. But I just, you don't realize how important your story is to others. And again, as I talk to my colleagues, Sweet MD and Ira, they mentioned how cool it was to have you somewhat as a mentor. You know, you all were kicking it, doing things, etc. What do you mean? What do you remember about going to WNUR, coming up to WNUR? You and Eric, how many times did you do that? Or did you do that once or twice, or how did that come about?
I believe I came up there quite a few times. I want to say maybe four or five, and it was the best, man. It was the best drive. It was the best going up there and hearing your music because we couldn't get it on the south side, so we had to sit there and listen. Just to hear it. So
Right.
sometimes we sit there and just listen to the mixes and stuff. It was a good time, and he gave us good props. Brother was right there when you needed somebody to support you. He was right there supporting us. So much love, definitely. And at Northwestern, who would know? Who would have thought that? Because it's
Right.
not really a mecca of black culture. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But it was popping, and it still is. You guys are doing a great job up there. That's good.
So, are you telling me that Northwestern is not a mecca of black culture? Are you kidding? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, they had no interest in black music other than the standard European interest in taking it and recreating it and producing it
There
for
it is.
their ears. But so yeah, I am very proud of a lot of the college stations. Again, if you're not the Hot Mix Five, you're not getting on, the major stations, right? So I think the college stations did a lot from KKC, HPK to bring,
Yes.
artists like yourself, give you some confidence, right? Like, yeah, I'm on the radio. I can't hear it on the South Side till after midnight, but I'm on the radio, right? Someone's hearing me, and knowing that this is important, music and something to be respected and listened to. So I'm happy that WNUR had a small place in helping you, build your audience and build your confidence in
Definitely.
your art form. And anything else, I'm going to let you go so you can get ready for your set, which starts at what time?
Set starts at 6:30, but we're starting at 6 tonight with conversations.
Got it. Got it. Who are you conversating with?
Tonight it's just me and Derek Lott and I. We're
Oh,
talking about
cool.
the start of the new conversation. So,
Excellent.
and we would like to invite you to come by and talk about the foundation whenever you're free.
We would love to. You just let me know when, and I will put it on the schedule and jump in and be happy to talk for sure. And
Cool.
invite my colleagues as well to do that. So, all right. Well, listen, if you ever want to come back, spin live on our show, we are doing a little segment at the end of our talk show every Wednesday at 10 o'clock called The Spotlight. And our goal is to spotlight DJs, both young and mature, to just jump on and be like, and just, capture our audience. Our audience has a lot of old school legends and promoters and producers today, and somewhat of a global audience. And we want them to say, come, right after our show, jump right in and see who's coming up with something new. So if you want to introduce something new, we'd be happy to have it on the show or just talk about some other things as well. So I will
I
let
would
you.
love to be there. Would love to be there. Just let me know when you want me to come on. I'd have to take the day off.
It's only a 30-minute set though. It's a 30-minute set at the from 10 to 10:30. So you don't have to. Oh, do you have to take off? I know you can actually record it as well and send it in, but we could do it live. I think it's better live because we've been doing the recordings, and sometimes it's too low. Sometimes it's always something technically. It's always like it doesn't sound the same. When you do it back on anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. So anyway, Dewey, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contributions to house music, and we look forward to hearing you on Twitch. That's Twitch tonight on Saturday nights, every Saturday night.
Every Saturday night,
Excellent.
six
All right.
thirty, 6:30 to 8.
Twitch at DJ Dewey B.
Correct.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Dewey. I'm going to shut it all the way off now and we'll talk later, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All righty. Have a good one.